Today marked the 6th time Joanna was supposed to meet my parents. But just like every other time before, she stood me up again. My parents and I had been sitting in the restaurant for 4 long hours waiting. During that time, I called her. Over and over again, no answer. Just as I was about to give up and make one final call, Joanna's childhood friend Charles posted a tweet with his location tagged at a suburban hotel. "We're going to walk from 18 to 80. The picture showed a woman's pale white back, with a striking red spider lily tattoo blooming on her exposed shoulder. One of our mutual friends commented teasingly, "The first love couple is even better." I didn't say anything. I just silently liked the post and commented, "Make sure you're buried together after death. Don't come back in the next life to ruin others." Just as our food arrived at the table, my phone rang. It was Joanna. Without a second thought, I hung up, but right after, a message popped up. "Can you stop being so paranoid? I grew up with him. So what if we said we'd be together until 80? People like you, with your dirty mind, are the ones who assume everything is dirty." Then another message followed. Charles wasn't feeling well, so I went to check on him. I didn't expect the sudden downpour, and since he's not in good health, I got worried and booked a room to wait out the rain. Her messages kept coming in, but not once did she mention the dinner with my parents. I stopped reading. Instead, a heavy guilt settled in my chest as I looked up at my mom and dad. They were growing older, yet they still flew all the way here just to meet Joanna, and she hadn't shown up once. They were clearly getting frustrated, but because I liked her, they kept holding back. "I'm sorry, Mom." "Dad," I said, "I made you come all this way for nothing." My mom gave me a worried look. My dad, calm as always, said, "We're not going to interfere with your relationship. You're old enough to make your own decisions. We just came to see you." My eyes stung with tears. In the 5 years I'd been with Joanna, she had never once joined me to visit my parents. She was a well-known lawyer, always saying her time was precious, that every minute counted, but whenever Charles called, she would cross the entire city to meet him. She even made time to travel with him. Love and indifference, they're not hard to tell apart. I had just been lying to myself all this time. Sometimes letting go only takes one moment. After I dropped my parents off at their hotel, I got home around p.m. Joanna was sitting on the couch, frowning. As soon as I stepped in, she snapped, "You're home this late? Where were you? Why didn't you pick up your phone or respond to my texts?" I stood there, listening to her blame me, then calmly interrupted, "Do you remember what today was about?" She looked puzzled. "What? Just another workday, right? Or do you mean?" She cut herself off. "Sorry. Did your parents already leave?" "I promise I won't forget tomorrow," I replied coolly. "No need." I walked straight to my room. After showering, I turned off the lights, pulled the blanket over myself, and got ready to sleep. Joanna came in a few minutes later. She had also showered and was now wearing a black spaghetti strap nightgown. As usual, she lay beside me. "You're still mad at me?" she whispered, wrapping an arm around my waist. I didn't respond, just turned my back to her. She leaned close and murmured in my ear, "Darling, I'm sorry. I really was wrong this time. Charles had an accident and called me. I got scared and forgot everything else." When I still didn't respond, she turned me around abruptly, under the moonlight. The flower tattoo on her shoulder caught my eye. I remembered Charles's tweet, and suddenly, I was sick to my stomach. "What's wrong?" I asked coldly. "Didn't Charles feed you well?" She shot up in anger. "Jeremy, do you ever let anything go?" I already explained and apologized. "What more do you want? I even planned to take the day off tomorrow to be with your parents." I looked at her quietly. Her voice sounded more like she was doing me a favor. "Joanna," I said calmly, "you don't have to force yourself anymore. Let's break up." I grabbed a pillow and walked out to sleep in the guest room. Joanna was stunned for a few seconds. Then she slammed the bedroom door shut. The next morning, as I was preparing to call in for leave to take my parents out, I got a text from my mom. "We're heading back now. You focus on work. Come home when you can." I was surprised and quickly called her. "Mom, why are you leaving so early?" She replied softly, "Your dad's in a rush to go fishing with your uncle." "All right, gotta go. Talk later." The call ended. I stared at the screen, guilt creeping in again. My hometown was just an hour's flight away, but I had been so focused on Joanna these past years, I barely visited. Suddenly, a thought hit me. I got up immediately and went to find my manager Song. I said, "I want to transfer to the Guangzhou branch." He looked surprised. "You sure?" I've asked you before, and you always said no. If you go, the branch project manager role is yours. I rubbed the back of my neck. I've thought it through. Nothing's more important than making money. He smiled, satisfied, and handed me the form. On my way out of his office, Joanna called again. As soon as I picked up, she complained, "Why didn't you wake me? And where's breakfast? I've got an important client today." Her entitled tone made me laugh bitterly. "Joanna, I'm not your maid. I'm not obligated to do everything for you. Jeremy, you're seriously." I ended the call. For 5 years, I had treated Joanna like a queen, cooking, cleaning, even laying out her shower clothes. But once I stopped doing those things, I became the bad guy. Strangely, I felt relieved. Really relieved. Letting go early was the best decision. My productivity at work shot up. I started finishing tasks that used to take all day in just a few hours. After work, I stepped outside and noticed it was raining. Just then, Joanna called again. "You're done, right? I didn't bring my car. Come pick me and Charles up." The way she said "me and Charles" made me feel sick. Just how desperate had I been before agreeing to pick them up in the rain? "I'm not available." I hung up. I took a cab home, ordered spicy hot pot, and cracked open a beer. I hadn't had this in years. Joanna always said it was gross and beneath her. She wouldn't let me eat it either. Yet today, I saw her on Charles's WeChat, wearing a black suit and eating hot pot on the street with him. So she could eat it, just not with me. Turns out her tastes weren't rigid. I just wasn't the exception. As I enjoyed my food, Joanna came in with Charles, both of them drenched from the rain. She saw me relaxing and snapped, "Jeremy, this is you having no time. It's just your parents. What's the big deal? Are they never going to be available again? Do you really have to be so dramatic?" I didn't want to argue, but the things coming out of her mouth were getting more outrageous by the second. I stood up suddenly and smashed the beer bottle I was holding on the floor. "That's enough, Joanna. Don't push it too far." Glass shards flew and hit Charles. Joanna, furious, stormed over and shoved me. I fell to the ground. Ugh, my palm hit the broken glass. Blood poured out. I couldn't even tell how many cuts I had. Joanna's face went pale. She rushed over to check on me, but the moment she got close, I caught the scent of Charles's cologne, the one he always used. I could just imagine her hands running over him, her face soft and full of affection. I shoved her away. That's when I saw the red marks on her neck. She noticed my stare and quickly covered them. There've been a lot of mosquitoes at the office lately. You know how sensitive my skin is. Charles shot me a smug look and chimed in, "Yeah, miss. Joanna's skin is so smooth." In this relationship, it was Charles who received Joanna's real love, and all I ever got was betrayal over and over again. "Enough," Joanna said, brushing off the tension. "Stop fussing over these little things. I'll take you to the hospital." She looked at my injured hand with a pained expression, but her movements were anything but gentle. She grabbed my bleeding hand and roughly pulled me up off the floor, pretending to be a caring girlfriend, insisting she'd take me to the hospital. I shook her off and replied calmly, "No need. If you keep dragging me like this, I'll die before we even get to the hospital." It was only then that Joanna realized she had been yanking my injured hand. Still, she stayed defensive. "Can't you talk like a normal person? Why do you always have to speak so sarcastically?" I didn't bother replying. I went to put on my shoes, ready to go to the hospital on my own. But of course, Joanna wouldn't let me go that easily. She kept insisting, pulling me along and dragging me to the car. When we got there, Charles had already jumped into the passenger seat, casting another smug glance my way. "I get carsick, so I need to sit in the front," he said. "Jeremy, you don't mind, right?" I didn't respond. I just opened the back door and got in silently. On the way to the hospital, I looked around the car and noticed a few things that annoyed me deeply. A couple's photo placed at the front, a pair of basketball shoes in the back, a man's jacket draped over the seat. When Joanna and I first started dating, I had left a small figurine in her car. The next day, she threw it in the trash. She said she couldn't stand anyone else's stuff cluttering her car. Turns out her so-called principles were just selective. Even her had double standards. After the doctor cleaned and bandaged my wounds, it was already 2 a.m. I walked around the hospital waiting area, but there was no sign of Joanna. I didn't even bother calling her. I simply walked out and stood by the roadside, trying to hail a cab. It was the middle of the night. It was raining. I waited for an hour, still nothing. Eventually, I had no choice but to call Joanna. Charles answered the phone. After a brief hello, I heard the phone get snatched away. Charles clicked his tongue and said, "I'm gonna take a shower. Hurry up." Then Joanna's voice came through a little farther away, maybe stepping outside. "What's up?" she asked. I didn't waste time. "I'm outside the hospital. I can't get a cab. Can you come pick me up?" She went quiet for a second, as if just realizing she was the one who brought me here. "Wait for me. I'll be there in 5 minutes." But 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 20. Still no sign of her. I laughed bitterly at myself. Why did I even trust her again? I tried for a cab again, and maybe fate was finally done mocking me, because this time, one came right away. When I got home and sat down, Joanna walked in not long after. She didn't even greet me. She jumped straight into complaints. "Why didn't you wait for me? I'm hungry. Make me something to eat. Make extra seafood porridge. Charles wants some. I'll take it to him later." Hey, are you deaf? I'd been up all night, drenched in rain, dizzy and completely drained. Are you crazy? I snapped. We already broke up, and you're still giving me orders? Joanna stared at me like I'd just lost it. What did you say? You want to break up with me? Yeah, I replied. I told you yesterday. Didn't you hear me? Joanna suddenly laughed as if I had told the funniest joke ever. She even had tears in her eyes from laughing. Jeremy, am I hearing this right? You want to break up with me? You'll beg me back in a few days. No, actually, just a few hours, right? I hope you have the guts to last 24 hours. I looked at her calmly. I wasn't surprised. I tried to break up with her several times because of Charles, but I always gave in, shamefully going back to apologize, to patch things up. Joanna didn't say another word. She walked into the bedroom and slammed the door shut. I took out my phone and started searching for short-term rentals near my office. Earlier that day, Manager Song had informed me that the transfer order would arrive tomorrow, but the official relocation wouldn't happen until the new branch sent out their notice, which might take up to a month. I thought it would be quick. Now, I realized I'd have to wait. While browsing rental listings, I started thinking about what to pack. Since moving in with Joanna, I had treated this apartment like home. I'd bought a lot of things I couldn't possibly take with me now. In the end, I decided to only pack my essentials. After all, I wouldn't be living in this city for long. None of it mattered anymore. I arranged a meeting with a realtor for that afternoon, then went to the guest room to rest. When I woke up and stepped out of the guest room, Joanna was staring at me with a strange expression, something I couldn't read. I didn't say a word. Just glanced at the clock and went to the bathroom to freshen up. Suddenly, she threw a cup onto the floor. The crash startled me. I turned to look. Shattered ceramic scattered across the floor, and I smiled, because that cup, that was the first one I ever made when I got into ceramics. When I gave it to Joanna back then, she had laughed for a long time. She said it was so ugly. It had to be one of a kind in the whole world, and I had replied seriously, just like my love for you, one of a kind. Now that it was broken, it felt like our relationship was too shattered. Done. I didn't care about the broken cup anymore. I finished getting ready, put on my shoes, and left. Joanna sat on the couch behind me, watching my back as I walked out the door, still dazed. That afternoon, I visited several rentals and quickly chose one, a fully furnished one-bedroom apartment, just 5 minutes walk from my office. The last apartment had been picked for Joanna's convenience. Her commute was short. Mine took over 30 minutes, even without traffic. I used to think only about giving. I never thought things would end like this. I signed the lease, paid the deposit, and planned to move in that night. Freedom and comfort already felt within reach. When I got back to the apartment, Joanna was gone. I packed my things into one large suitcase and left. By the time I had settled into the new place, unpacked and cleaned up, evening had come. I was tired but happy. That feeling didn't last long. Joanna called. I looked at the clock. Of course, she probably needed hangover tea or wanted her bath drawn, but this time, she wasn't getting either. I answered the call. Joanna's surprised voice came through. Jeremy, you moved out? I was surprised too. Why was she back so early today? Did things not go well with Charles? When I didn't respond, she called my name again, a little panicked, or maybe I imagined it. Yeah, I said. We broke up. Living together doesn't make sense anymore. Did I agree to break up? She snapped. Come back right now. Where are you? I'll come get you. No need, Joanna. I'm serious this time. I said it calmly. Joanna panicked. Fine, fine. Jeremy, don't regret this. She hung up. Regret? The only regret I had was not breaking up sooner. Now I could eat durian or stinky tofu without worrying what anyone thought. No more making 3 meals a day. Now I could use my time to improve myself because I had fallen behind at work. Since being with Joanna, I had wasted so much time. I needed to catch up. I enrolled in an online course immediately. That first week after leaving Joanna, I lived freely fulfilled. Just when I thought it was truly over, I got a call from Joanna's friend. Joanna's drunk, she said. She's yelling for you to come pick her up. I was stunned. You must have called the wrong number. Call Charles. If you don't have his number, I can send it to you. Her friend seemed thrown off and stayed quiet for a moment. Then she tried persuading me. You've been together so long, don't make such a big deal out of it. You'll regret it later. I yawned and interrupted her. Is there anything else? If not, I'm hanging up. As soon as I hung up, I heard Joanna yelling from the other room. It suddenly reminded me of when Charles had just returned from abroad. Joanna used to go out drinking with her friends until the early hours every night, and I couldn't sleep, worrying she might get into trouble. One day, I called her to ask if she needed me to pick her up. Joanna scoffed and said, "What are you coming for? Are you going to embarrass me? You can't drink, you can't handle it." After that, I never mentioned picking her up again. I thought about it for a moment, but it seemed so pointless. Without hesitation, I hung up the phone, turned off the lights, and went to sleep. The next morning, when I woke up, my phone had over a dozen missed calls and unread messages, all from Joanna. Jeremy, come back tomorrow and we can pretend nothing happened. Who do you think you are? You rejected the chance to come pick me up. Where did you learn this new trick of playing hard to get? You're not even worth a finger of Charles. If it wasn't for you and Charles competing for the same spot to study abroad, I would never have been with you. I froze when I saw that message. The puzzle that had been bothering me for so long was finally solved. In my senior year, Joanna suddenly added me on WeChat and asked if I wanted to be together. Although I didn't quite understand why, I agreed without hesitation. Back then, almost everyone at school knew that I liked her. From falling in love at first sight in my sophomore year to officially getting together in our senior year, many of our classmates said they believed in love again. After getting together with Joanna, she told me she didn't like long-distance relationships. As a love-struck fool, I gave up the opportunity to study abroad, even angering my professor. I swore to my professor that I was going to pursue happiness. Joanna was always lukewarm toward me. At the time, I thought she was so cool. Little did I know, I would suffer so much because of that coolness. After graduation, I gave up a job opportunity back home to stay here for Joanna, thinking we would be the perfect example of from school uniforms to wedding gowns, but I was slapped in the face instead. Later on, I asked her many times why she suddenly got together with me. Her answer was always that it was because I was a fool. I thought it was a compliment, but it turned out it was just the truth. I was a fool. I don't regret everything I gave up for Joanna because I loved her earnestly and passionately. Thinking of this, I smiled bitterly and shook my head. For Charles, Joanna could really give up everything, even herself. At that moment, my phone rang. It was Joanna. I hesitated for a second but still answered. A weak voice came through the receiver. "Jeremy, my stomach hurts. Jeremy, my stomach hurts. Come back, my stomach hurts. Come give me a massage. I want sweet porridge. If you're not here, no one will make me hangover soup. No one will." Impatiently, I interrupted her. "Joanna, I'm not your nanny. If your stomach hurts, go see a doctor. If you want hangover soup, make it yourself. I'm not that desperate to give you another chance to hurt me after knowing the truth. Let's just end it here. We don't need to stay in touch." I hung up the phone and got out of bed to get ready for work, almost late. If I was late, I'd lose my full attendance bonus. It turns out there's nothing good that comes from dealing with Joanna, and luckily I woke up in time because I was preparing to transfer to another branch. I spent the whole morning working on handover documents. During lunch break, I finally had a chance to check my phone. After I hung up, Joanna sent me a bunch of messages. I hadn't even looked at them yet when a new one came in. It was a picture of her lunch, followed by, "The rice is so hard, not as good as when you made it." I didn't reply. I swiped up, and there it was, 3 words. "I'm sorry." I was a little surprised. Joanna was a very proud person. She rarely thought she was wrong. Even if she was wrong, she would always shift the blame onto me. After going through her repeated manipulation, there was a time when I lost myself, thinking I couldn't do anything right, and I was lucky that Joanna didn't mind. It wasn't until my mom noticed something was wrong, flew over from home, and comforted me that I finally broke free from the cycle. I had barely crawled out of the quagmire that was Joanna. How could I possibly fall in the same place again? At the end of the day, I unexpectedly saw Joanna standing outside the company entrance. I hesitated for a moment, then decided to pretend I didn't see her and walked around her to go buy groceries for the day. Joanna called my name and chased after me. "Jeremy, I'm here to take you home." Feeling the eyes of my colleagues on us, I had to stop. "Joanna, what do you want?" "We've broken up." She looked hurt. "Jeremy, I don't agree to break up. Come back with me." I looked at her in confusion and asked, "I can't even be a threat to Charles anymore." "What are you doing? What's left for you to gain from me?" Joanna's face instantly turned pale. "No, Jeremy, that was just the nonsense I said when I was drunk. Even though I got together with you because of Charles, after spending time with you, I realized I've already fallen for you." "Really, Jeremy, I can't." Before she could finish, Charles' ringtone sounded. She hesitated for a few seconds before finally answering the call. The moment Joanna picked up the phone, I immediately turned and left. And no matter the time or place, Charles would always be her priority. I should have understood this long ago. Chapter 5. In the following days, Joanna didn't appear in front of me again. After I completed my work handover, I decided to take some time off and go on a trip. After thinking for a while, I chose to go to the place I had originally planned to travel to with Joanna after graduation, Beijing. At the time, I had done a lot of research, booked flights and hotels, but the night before we were supposed to leave, Joanna told me her friend had an emergency and she had to fly abroad. That plan was shelved until now. After I found a place to stay in Beijing, I visited many places. On the first day, I woke up early to watch the flag-raising ceremony and had some douji fermented mung bean juice. I have to say, I really couldn't drink it. I also visited the snow-covered Forbidden City, the Great Wall in winter, the historic Summer Palace, and the Shichahai area at dusk. On the last day of my trip, I organized all the photos and posted a tweet. I said a proper goodbye to my youth. After returning to Shanghai, I began packing up my things and preparing to leave. At that moment, the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, I found it was Joanna. She looked much more haggard than before. Her makeup and hair were less polished, and she wasn't even wearing lipstick. I looked at her in confusion. "What do you want?" Joanna stubbornly said. "Jeremy, I'm here to take you home." I rolled my eyes at her. "If there's nothing else, you can leave." With that, I started to close the door, but Joanna pressed her hand against the doorframe, stopping me from closing it. I kicked the door impatiently. "What exactly do you want?" "Jeremy, I know I was wrong. Give me another chance. I love you. I'll make it up to you. If you don't like Charles, I can keep my distance from him. Is that okay?" Joanna looked at me pitifully, her eyes full of pleading. I sneered. "Joanna, don't you think your actions are contradictory? You love me, and yet you've been hurting me for years. If you don't leave, I'll call security." Joanna still refused to leave. She stared at me, seemingly unable to believe I would be so heartless. "Joanna, we're done. Is it fun to keep clinging like this?" I ignored her hand and slammed the door shut. Just before the door closed completely, Joanna's hand quickly pulled back. I sat on the sofa, pondering Joanna's strange behavior. Why was she so fixated on getting me to come back? Her saying that she'd suddenly realized I was the one she truly loved. I could never believe that. After sighing, I decided to stop thinking about it. After all, it was impossible. At that moment, my childhood friend messaged me saying he had arrived. I quickly got dressed and went out. The day after I returned from Beijing, my childhood friend Ryan called and asked me what my tweet meant. I told him everything, and he immediately said he'd come to Shanghai to have dinner and drinks with me. I didn't expect him to come that day. We chose a popular hot pot restaurant together. After having a few drinks, I went to the restroom. On my way back, I heard a voice that was incredibly familiar. If it wasn't for Charles being interested in the software I designed, I wouldn't have had to beg Jeremy. "Miss Joanna, you've been wronged. With that software, I can successfully get a job at Shenji. I'll meet him on Saturday, and then you The rest of the conversation was too quiet to hear clearly. The software they were talking about was something I had started developing in my second year after graduation, and it had only been completed recently. Saturday, huh? I'm curious to see what tricks you two are up to. On Saturday, Joanna stood at my door early in the morning, saying that even though there was no chance for us anymore, she wanted me to accompany her for the last day. I looked at her hypocritical appearance with cold eyes, a wave of disgust rising in my chest. But for the sake of my plan, I agreed after she begged for an hour. The moment I agreed, I didn't miss the brief gleam of triumph in her eyes. Not long after we left, my phone buzzed with a message. I glanced at it and couldn't help but curve my lips slightly. She took the bait. That day, Joanna took me to places we used to visit when we first got together. I kept watching her, thinking if she felt even a little bit guilty, I'd let her go. But she did, and single quotes in the afternoon, Joanna's phone buzzed again. Without even looking at it, she stood up and said, "Jeremy, thanks for spending the day with me. The law firm has some things for me to take care of. I need to head back." Without waiting for my reply, she quickly left. I didn't need to think to know that Charles had messaged her, saying he had succeeded. I slowly finished my coffee and then headed home, now just waiting to reel in the catch. 2 days later, a new software was released and its designer, Charles, was hailed as a genius. Charles quickly used this new title to land a job as the development department manager at Shenji. I watched his interview video on social media and sneered coldly. "Charles, you've had your laugh. Now the show's about to begin." I didn't warn him about the software. Instead, I went straight to court and filed a lawsuit, registering a personal account to send out a legal notice, since it was a new account. With few followers, I quickly bought traffic. Soon, the so-called genius designer was embroiled in a plagiarism scandal. People began talking. Some doubted my claims and questioned me. I wasn't afraid. I revealed the developer's signature hidden in the software and posted the screen recording of Charles working on my computer that day, because I had been active on various software development forums. Many designers in the industry knew my alias. As a result, Charles became the talk of the town, labeled a thief, and was too scared to leave his house. As I cracked open a beer at home to celebrate, Joanna called me. She said, "Jeremy, please, can you issue a statement saying we've privately resolved this? He's hiding at home and won't come out. If this continues, something bad will happen." I sneered. "A rat in the gutter shouldn't show its face. Didn't you think about this outcome when you conspired to steal from me?" Joanna fell silent for a few seconds. "You know about this. Then why did you cooperate with me? And now you won't let go? What do you think it'll do for you if something happens? When you two stole my software, did you think about the consequences it would have on me? Stealing your software was my mistake. Tell me what compensation you want. I'll agree to it." When she said this, I let out a sigh of relief. Thankfully, I had been foresighted and had already pressed record when she called. Everything she said was recorded. I didn't say anything more and hung up the phone, realizing I wouldn't let Charles off. Joanna started buying traffic and hired trolls to manipulate the narrative online. She desperately tried to clear his name, but a thief is still a thief no matter how much they try to cover it up. The truth remains, and the facts can't be changed. As netizens dug deeper, Charles's social media accounts were exposed. He had previously shared a lot about his relationship with Joanna, including intimate photos they took at hotels and at home. The earliest posts dated back to when Charles was studying abroad. He had a considerable following, many of whom were fans of their relationship. Now, due to this incident, all the comments on his posts had completely changed. Seeing things spiral out of control, Joanna began to turn the blame on me, accusing me of being the third party in their relationship. At this point, I fought back, posting a timeline of our relationship, along with the drunken message she had sent me and the recording of her last phone call. In an instant, not only did Charles's reputation take a hit, but Joanna was also dragged down. She was branded as a scumbag. Her work as a lawyer was suspended, and even her previous cases were being scrutinized. As this investigation unfolded, a shocking discovery came to light. On the day Joanna and I had met our parents for the 6th time, Charles had been pushed down a flight of stairs. Joanna was the acting lawyer for the case. Since there were no cameras nearby and no substantial evidence, she used her years of experience to sue the victim for 150,000 yuan in damages. However, during this incident, Someone released a video captured by a passerby near the crime scene. It showed that Charles had tried to push the victim down the stairs during an argument, but he lost his balance and fell instead. Joanna was dragged into a storm of online harassment, and her lawyer's license was revoked. After this battle, I packed my things and moved to Guangzhou for work, returning to the embrace of my family, and also blocked all contact with Joanna. A week later, I received a strange phone call. "Jeremy, where have you gone? I went to your place, and the landlord said you moved out." "Jeremy, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me. I was deceived by Charles, and that's why I did all of this." Joanna's voice was filled with regret and sorrow. "You have the wrong number," I replied. With that, I hung up the phone and set it to reject any unknown calls. I wasn't giving Joanna any more chances to disgust me. Since transferring to the branch office, I often worked late into the night. One night, after work, it was already past midnight. I was walking home alone when suddenly a small car sped toward me, aiming straight at me. In that moment of life and death, I froze, too scared to move. Just as the car was about to hit me, someone grabbed me from behind and yanked me out of the way. The car didn't slow down and quickly disappeared into the darkness. The person who saved me acted as a witness and accompanied me to the police station to file a report and give a statement. After my parents found out, they started driving me to and from work every day. In less than a week, the driver was caught. It was Charles. He hated me for ruining his future, for making him a pariah in the streets, and for facing charges of stealing others' work and extortion. As for Joanna, I had no idea what was wrong with her, but every day she tried to find me, saying she loved only me and didn't care about Charles at all. After losing everything, Charles became mentally unstable and wanted to drag me down with him. Hearing this, I couldn't help but feel a little rueful. Greed harms people, but their problems had nothing to do with me anymore. 6 months later, my mom tricked me into going on a blind date. When I arrived, I discovered it was the girl who had saved me that day. Rebecca. It turned out she was the girlfriend of one of my mom's friends, and she was a taekwondo instructor. Rebecca was an outgoing girl, and I felt very comfortable being around her. On our second meeting, she asked me, "Jeremy, can I be your girlfriend?" I fled in a panic, and she chased me relentlessly. A year later, Rebecca officially visited my parents as my girlfriend. She stood downstairs in front of my house, asking for the 10th time if she had brought all the gifts and fruits, wondering if she was dressed appropriately. I smiled and said, "With you having saved my life before, even if you didn't bring anything to my house, my parents would still like you." To my surprise, she looked at me seriously and said, "Jeremy, that's a different matter. You can't take meeting parents casually." Hearing this, I smiled contentedly. My happiness had finally arrived.